Welcome everyone to another next webinar. Today with a very inspiring session with the title Digital Transformation as the means of driving customer experience, how Modular brings in more value. Five extraordinary speakers today from the left to the right. First of all, I would like to welcome and congratulate, of course, to Vanitha from Novo Nordisk. She just became the Viva hero. So Vanitha, my congratulations, and how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Dario, and nice to be here, and also with all these great panelists.
Thank you. Then we have Alessandro, the digital marketing lead for Europe at Seagen. Hi, Alessandro. Same question. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Dario. My name is Alessandro. Thank you for having me here, and welcome to the panel. I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
You're very welcome. Then Nataliya Andreychuk, the CEO from Viseven. Nataliya, same question to you.
It's great to be here. Hello, everyone. It's a great honor and a great discussion, and hopefully valuable feedback from our side as from the agency side. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. Massimiliano Siciliano, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Dario. I hope that you are doing the same, and thank you for having me, and great to see everyone on the panel.
Thank you, and last but of course not least, Neel Edeling from Lundbeck. Neel, how are you as well?
Thank you, Dario. I don't think I'm the last. I think that was Alessandro too. But thank you so much. It's always such a great experience to be surrounded by my colleagues here from the other companies and discussing what we cherish to do every day and the challenges that we experience. I think these kinds of networks are extremely valuable for at least all of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's deep dive into the discussion. And Nataliya was so kind and she prepared some very interesting presentation to kick off the discussion and set the stage. So Nataliya, the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you, Dario. So great to have this opportunity. And I know like this topic, modular approach and modular content, is already not new for many of us. So setting up this scene, so we'll be just bringing the anchors to the discussion and making sure we are on the same page on the topics we want to unleash in the further conversation. So first of all is, can you see my screen? Or yeah, that's the most important thing to figure out if it's audible and seeable in this remote way. So bringing modular content and talking about it is really fascinating because modular is synonym to intelligent content. So working today in Viseven, we are trying to bring into life every aspect of intelligence to the content we can just put our hands on. And bringing content into life, we need to highlight several main problems. It's not still the problems statement, but where we can be really easily trapped while we are creating content for a big organization. First of all, we need to admit that there are a lot of walls are growing inside the creative team, the team which is working on the content. Can be agency, marketing, could be medical, or team or legal. So every team is working in quite isolation from each other, producing the content. And on the other side, there is the other burden, which is the silos or the prison of the format, because producing in the isolation, that means the duplication of the work in the future, focusing more on what, because the number of channels we have to communicate is really growing, and we have to admit that we are more often producing more content than we're thinking how to produce it in the new and most efficient way. And this leads us to the other trap, which is the format, because a lot of content management systems are in place and a lot of different formats which are not really reusable across. And here we have to think about the other important issue, which is are we really reusing the content? And if we are not, so what we are losing over there? Are we losing just the consistency in brand experience, or we are losing the customer experience working with us, which is really a big challenge, because we are all today competing for our customer attention in this way or the other, right? So, and let's just think a little bit, like we have figured out that one of the most important thing to understand about modular from the scratch, what is reuse in essence, what is really how really the content can be reused. Because if you don't understand this, particularly, we have been surprised by figuring out how many people copying, pasting, and thinking that it is really the reuse, but it is the longer journey, right? It is not that. So we have to think about how we build much more sophisticated way, which is not multiplying our costs, which is creating the better content performance, which is breaking up every isolation we are working in, might be right working in, which is really derivative from the global strategy, which is making what we created visible, where we are not really focusing on the format of our creation, where we do have all the needed foundation in-house, so which is helping us to produce one time and then reuse it as many times as needed, without caring about what content management system or what marketing automation system will be in place. And this is where modular have this significant impact, and where we need to think about this more with, but it is, modular is not really a buzzword. It is a part of the unified content strategy in the end. Oh, sorry about that. It's just, I want to bring this unified modular content strategy as a framework to discuss later, and to understand how we can unite all the systems together in the way to create the sustainable technical foundation for reuse, repurpose, for being channel agnostic, to connect all the existing content in the way like our key messages, claims are connected to the right references, imaginary, and we have variety of those, and we can trace it along all the journey our content is going, and then we can really go there, change the core thing, and then we will be informed about all of these changes happening, and we will be decisive on how our content will perform, and what actually data we will be seeing, and how our message in the end will be personalized. In the framework approach, it would look like this, because I don't like really the frameworks, but if we unite all these steps which we need to do, so it better looks like under the big yellow umbrella, where we have to do some housekeeping to centralize the content, to organize it, then working on the personalization, because it means like creating personas, building the right tagging structure, and working with the data. It will affect our communication significantly. Then we have to automate as much as possible, because publishing, dissemination of the content is the is the place where automation is happening, and then results will hopefully really be rewarding. So this is how it is happening, the unified modular content strategy, where we as vendor usually helping to evolve. So we are working usually on the operations like in ad hoc manner, where we asked to produce, as an example, we asked to produce kind of content for the chatbot, or for the landing page, or create the whole virtual meeting end to end. But in fact, what would be more efficient is creating the foundation, which is technical foundation, where approval system, digital asset management system, the offering solution, like we have one, which is a wizard, obviously well known, and the rest are connected together and helping to produce and reuse and repurpose and disseminate the content, which leads to maturity, which is modular, and in the end, where all of us are going, where the content will be really auto-produced, where we are not caring too much about the format, and where artificial intelligence suggesting us how to use our content in the future, right? So, and it says, if we go into the definition, what we need to build structured, semantically rich, channel agnostic, discoverable and reusable intelligent content. And this is the way to go, because in the end, we all will be benefited from it, because there will be no repetitive work. We will be not caring too much about technology, because today I think we are too much obsessed about technology, while we have to be more obsessed about the time, the speed to market, the time to market, how fastly we are delivering the messages, the content which is outspoken. As an example, in clinical trials, we have to be very fast, and if we are not mastering the process of reuse and repurpose, we are really losing in competition of attention of our clients. So this is what is happening. So the challenges are still there. There's the process. We have to think about what are the modules, to do this some housekeeping, to build the content packs, to figure out how to work with the creative agency, how the authors have to write the content. Either we have to templatize, or we have to step even aside of HTML5 format, because it is also a kind of trap. So we have to think about tagging, taxonomy, the other vendors, how to bring them to the certain standards, and then we start reuse. So this is how we are seeing these challenges, and we are working with them daily. Who we are Viseven. We are working in this industry more than 12 years already. We are able to design, to implement, to be a part of the process, or to handle the process end to end. And I think this is enough to start the discussion. Thank you for listening to me. It was Nataliya Andreychuk. Dario, up to you.
Thank you very much, Nataliya, for this very meaningful and insightful presentation. I think was very good to set the stage in that particular way. And certainly I agree with you that we strongly too much believe in technology. That is just the answer on every single problem which we have, right? But let's deep dive with the discussion. And the first question which I have for you today is what taught us digital transformation about the content strategy so far? And let's start with you, Neel. You're muted.
Sorry, can you just repeat it, because I couldn't hear you? I just heard digital strategy.
So what taught us digital transformation about the content strategy so far?
So we're just in the beginning of that journey. We're in the beginning of our omnichannel journey, where of course having modular content becomes apparent, where it becomes possible to measure, to really see what content is efficient here. And you also needed to really effectuate the coordination of the cross-channel functionalities here. And another aspect of that becomes very close to my heart is here, we also know that the digital native doctors that we're approaching, they're not waiting for us to come with a face-to-face meeting. They're going out in the channels to look for the information that they're searching for, right? So I really hope that that we are able, with this modular content approach, to face their needs for information going forward.
Thank you very much, Neel. Alessandro?
Yes, so I echo what Neel said. We also in a phase of building the omnichannel and let's say the digital ecosystem, I would like to say less is more. From a content perspective, I think the industry, especially during COVID, overreacted to a known situation and create a lot of digital fatigue. So content management, modular, is extremely important, but frequency and quality is even more important, I believe. So, so as we are building here everything from more or less scratch in Europe, so we are thinking about how to add quality in this modular content approach.
Nataliya, wanted to say something?
Yes, exactly. Because yeah, so today with this overcrowded market with too many channels of communication, right? Because even to define the all correct channels to one personas is not really too much accurate today, right? We still have to have the most popular communication happening. We have to cover that, and I would say what is really important today is to invest some time in this housekeeping, which goes before the omnichannel strategy started to be, right? So this housekeeping, Vanitha can support us, taking a lot of time, right, with the tagging, building the right taxonomy. It's a lot of manual effort. We are trying to survive there. We are trying to automate with Amazon services, with other technology, but there is still no technology exists today which can eliminate 100% of effort. If we are lucky, we can have 80% of this manual effort automated. But in the end of the day, when we are done with the creative, this technical foundation, we will be able to create the very correct guides for our working groups in the future, so to follow them. But this is really tiresome job. I do agree.
Thank you. Vanitha, please help us.
Sure. So our journey of digital transformation started a few years back, at least 4 years back. And as also Nataliya alluded, it's been a very long journey in order to get the foundations right in terms of the ecosystem. But now we have some data, and when I reflect on what has this digital transformation taught us with respect to content strategy, I see first of all that there has been an acceleration of our engagement model, and especially in the markets which are moving more towards a hybrid way of engaging with our customers. There is 4 times rise in customer interactions, and there is at least 3 to 4 times rise in our content volume production, especially the digital content. Now, with this trend, when we think of as an organization, it does put a lot of pressure on us because our budgets are not rising 3 times or 4 times like the way our interactions are rising. So then, if I look at this data and say, what can I do within, then I really need to think about a sustainable model in which we can generate efficiencies to cater to this need. Now, with respect to content strategy, there are some critical questions that we asked ourselves. Hey, first of all the content that we are producing, right, does it actually deliver what we intend to deliver, right? Does it make a difference? First of all, is the content that we produce, this huge volume of content, is it even being used by our affiliates? And let's say if it is being used by our affiliates, is it actually being executed in the customer journeys, in the whole omnichannel ecosystem? Then if it is actually being executed, then is the content performing well? Is it actually reaching our customers and driving the engagement forward? Is it meaningful enough? So these are some of the foundational questions that we ask ourselves when it comes to content strategy, and these are some of the important lessons that the whole digital transformation journey has taught us so far. And modular content is going to be a critical lever or a point of leverage for us to enhance our customer experience and drive this whole transformation journey forward in the digital space.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vanitha. And Masi.
I would say, from my perspective, what the digital transformation taught to us is that it's not going to be executed over time. And I would say what was shared by my my colleagues here, I would say it's proven also that there's a journey that is going since long, and there are several technical elements that need to be figured out and ensure that are working properly. But I would say the other element is also that is required to ensure that also the people follow this technology. Otherwise, we're not talking anymore about digital transformation. We're talking about technology and stuff. It doesn't transform the way how we operate, how we perform. And content in general, in any, I would say, omni-channel or digital transformation, because why we do the digital transformation, the key points is to ensure that you reach your customers or your stakeholder with the right message that is needed for them, that solve some challenge that they are facing on the time and from the channel that they want. So it means moving our perspective from what we want on what they need and how we can help them to move along this journey. And so the content is no exception. Actually, the content is one of the key pillars within the digital transformation that is absolutely essential to figure out in our organization how need to be set up the process. But what we all know since years now, because I remember at least really important research run by Boston Consulting, by Accenture around content already 3-4 years ago. The content is going to increase in terms of production from the pharma industry because the customer demands much more meaningful and much more tailored approach for their needs. So the ability of creating content that is fitting the needs of your customer, that is reaching your customer on the right time and through the right channel, of course, put the modular content as one of the key pillars within the digital transformation. And so that, in my opinion, is what we should take as a key message from the digital transformation journey that we all did across maybe even more organization, and we face different challenge. That, in my opinion, the reflection that we need to do. How also this piece need to come together with the rest of the other elements that will make this a reality and not just a discussion on or some really good, nice slides in a PowerPoint.
So it seems like we are still having a long road to go, right? So Vanitha mentioned that the foundations, and certainly a very important aspect. So my next question, and let's start with you, Alessandro, this time, is what are those foundations for crafting proper content leading to better customer experience? Because I personally believe it's not just about crafting good content, it's certainly also about putting customer experience in place, like many other industries are doing that. Alessandro.
Of course. Well, I mean, maybe it's going to be a very generic word, but customer centricity is the key in a digital strategy overall, obviously. But let's be also frankly honest. If you don't have a breakthrough treatment with strong real world evidence, I mean, you can have the best ecosystem in place, the best sales rep, is not going to be the best customer experience. So you need to have very strong data and a very strong treatment to actually, be able to provide the best customer experience. I think, personal opinion here, what I try to build here in this company at this stage is clearly less is more, but really understanding customer needs. What do they need? What kind of level of information they need? Proposing them, the choice of interaction with us. Before it was very strong the face-to-face. Today maybe we're gonna have an hybrid model, but it's up to them to choose. But us, we would like to provide them the choice to choose on what channels to consume information from us. And last and not least, I think the push and pull approach will become even more important for the customer experience.
Thank you very much. Neel?
Yeah, so I really liked, Nataliya, your slides with the how and what, because that feeds into the why. why are we doing this? So Alessandro mentioned customer-centric. For me, it's very much patient-centric, what modular content we're coming up with to really see the efficiency of each of these modules coming around. And then this why becomes even more important when we start doing all the meta tagging, all the work, all the cleaning up, because I think we can all agree there is an experimental aspect of what we're trying to do now. There is no book anywhere with this is how the results are going to be produced. So we also have to acknowledge that we're trying out different things. We're doing A/B testing. We're, of course, setting up our MarTech foundation, whether it's Marketing Cloud or it's an Adobe solution. What works best is also very closely linked to what resources you have at hand and what disease areas you're working within. Because each of these components are not equally strong, but if they're not functioning equally well, then you're not getting the results you want. So right now, what we're seeing is definitely a resource shift in the industry, and some of the traditional approaches with this are gonna disappear because that holistic knowledge of all these elements that has to be in place are very scarce right now out there. And I think this is also why I keep seeing the same faces when I speak, right? So I think really understanding the coordination of the elements, whether it's technology or writing the contents, producing it, or speaking, is becoming much more apparent that a holistic understanding of those interactions need to be in place to orchestra these inside-outside selling points, right?
Thank you, Neel. Masi?
If we talk about customer experience, I would say we can learn a lot from the insurance industry, where they will actually start the management of the customer experience. That was something that actually was just reaching the pharma industry, and not only the pharma industry, but also the other market, because they need to manage a lot of complaints. So, and there was everything starting. So for me, the customer experience is coming exactly on what is needed from our customer, and what is the final aim that we want to reach through our, exactly how said Neel, because I like actually that she was point out therapeutical class, MarTech, and people, because it's not just one parameter, and there are parameters that are outside of our control and are not belonging to the company where we are working. There are I would say the HCP who we are interacting, and not only because they are the primary point of contact, but there are many more stakeholders. And later on, the final outcome, that is the patient outcome, that we all strive to improve exactly that. So when you pull all of this into consideration, I would say everything starts to be relevant, and you need to be able to manage every single touch point that you have with your stakeholder, and understanding what is the delivery, what is the customer experience that you deliver in that touch point, and sum up and understanding the entire journey. So you have to have a clarity regarding how is going to be managed the overall customer journey, and be flexible to adapt this customer journey linked to the needs that are popping up, because you will know for how much we can collect information and we can analyze and we can strive to create this persona and trying to ensure that reflects the reality of our stakeholder. There would be always surprise. So being flexible and able to change our customer journey and connect it to the customer journey, the customer experience journey, there, in my opinion, you come together on these two key elements that give I would say, the impact that our organization would like to deliver to their stakeholder. And I think these are the two elements that we should merge.
Thank you very much, Masi. Would say that the customer journey or HCP journey is still a very important role, but the message is that they're still on the journey, right? Nataliya, same question for you.
Yes, it's a very good question. I will just example of very hands-on experience from our agency life. as recently we have been developing, like usually at agency, a mobile application for breast cancer. It was here for the doctors, for practitioners, so that instead of having the compendium, right, we decided together with our client to develop the application for the oncologists, so they can read this compendium in a more, appealing way. And here you can understand the silos which I showed in the beginning, like commercial, we all see like e-detail, how it looks like, the navigation, tip, tap, 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 and go, right? And then when you can see the medical content, it's just a big, like we received that compendium. I was so much like amused, like how people will find even time, like to go through. And then we have all the clinical trials, innovations, we have the symposiums, the sharing data and massive data, how we can manage all of that. And then this modularization in that particular case, so then we just having this building bricks like Lego, we modularized this compendium, and we tried, like this project was a success. And then I just received, not from the customer but from the doctors, I just received some feedback. They, oh, if there will be needed a help or my opinion or my cases, so connect me with them. I want to contribute. So this is the two-way street. And it just, for me, was a big surprise, first of all, that we just managed to do all of this by modularization in a quick way. It was, from technology perspective, was nothing, right? It's just, HTML5 front end, some, some technology was really not heavy lifting, but from the impact, it was a huge impact. And in the end, we become this middleman who just provided the connection between the company and between the doctors. And that was the amazing fact, like from the hands-on experience, how it's happening.
Thank you, Nataliya. And Vanitha.
Well, I completely resonate with what all my wonderful panelists here have told about customer centricity, right? And I have been asking the same question. Hey, we are talking about customer centricity, and it's going to lead to personalization, and it's going to enhance your customer experience. Why we are doing all this, right? At the end of the day, we want life-saving medicines to reach our patients, isn't it? And that's why we are talking about customer-centric communication. And when we think about this, one of the important things, or actually two important things that come to my mind is, first of all, we need to really see, okay, because what customer-centric content is for me is probably a different kind of content for you. So today, most of the content that we produce are very product-centric. We talk about the benefits of the product, how it works, whether it's convenient, how accessible is it. Like, we as pharma companies, we do that. But now we are slowly shifting into customer-centric way of communicating and thinking about different physicians, how they would prefer a content to be disseminated to them. But the journey shouldn't stop with that, right? I have a favorite way of saying you cannot improve what you cannot measure. So I always say that you need to constantly test and validate your assumptions as to, is your content truly customer-centric, or you think it is customer-centric. And what modular content is going to do here is also enable that, what Nataliya alluded, that dynamic content, right? To be able to disseminate content or deliver content in a more frequent manner to your customers, because just like all of us are here in the room, we are so addicted, for the lack of a better word, to our mobiles, and we constantly keep looking at content, and our attention span is also very less. And customers are no different, whether it's a physician or if you're targeting a patient, it's going to be the same, because all of us consume content probably in the same way that doctors also consume. So yes, so modular content will help you deliver that content faster and in a more dynamic fashion, and it will also it will be allow you to measure that every content piece, because you're going to have that data coming in which you can measure and then improve the whole and enhance the customer experience at the end of the day.
Thank you, Vanitha. Also, to our audience, if you have any questions, just drop the question in the chat section and we will raise some of those. And let's continue with the next question and start with you, Nataliya, because I think you're quite proper person to give the first answer on that, coming from an agency and a solution vendor working with many pharma companies, and which is, what are the current challenges of proper content design, which you face mostly at different pharma companies?
Can I give a very classic answer? This is change management. Yeah,
Okay.
because we are in constantly changing environment, right? And while we want to change the rules, we will be fighting for this change. So bringing up the advocacy of new approach, because you can understand we need a lot of advocacy in many things. Like once we are designing content in the whole new way, so that will be the advocacy from MLR, the advocacy from creative agencies, the advocacy from the other vendors. So we need a lot of support. So, and we need also support and from the we need the strong stakeholders inside the organization, which provides the change. Because this change in how we design the content will really depends on the ability to take the responsibility and think how much you can be dedicated to this change, what kind of resource inside the organization. It's Neel just shaped this also, like how much resource do you have, right? So what you are able to dedicate for this, to change this, and is there any person who will be leading this initiative 24/7, right? Because this is how you build the change. Vanitha knows, because she is running this 24/7, this change. And for us working together, we have been really experiencing this support at every level. But this is the strongest challenge, I would say, for every agency who will be connected to this.
Thank you. Vanitha?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? It's a huge change journey. And quite often, what I've seen having driven this change in our organization is many times our colleagues, our marketeers, do not understand the technical challenges that is there with respect to design, because there's a lot of dependency on agencies, right? That they're going to take care of everything. But sometimes not all agencies in the world tell that, hey, you know what, there is a fundamental issues with the design. One great example is is your design, content design, mobile responsive? Is it digital friendly? Is it digital ready? Like, when you're going to look into different devices, is it actually going to work and deliver that kind of experience for your customers? Or is it going to just go into a spam folder because it's not designed correctly, So these are some of the awareness that probably is lacking, and as change agents and change ambassadors, we feel it's our responsibility to also have such kind of not so interesting conversations with our marketeers, because they're very passionate about their brand, about customers, about patients, but yeah, maybe not technicalities. So I think that's the biggest challenge and barrier we need to address on an ongoing basis, I would say.
Thank you, Vanitha. Masi?
I totally agree with the change management. I would say 3 points. The change management is one. The new mindset of the marketeers. I was going exactly the same direction, Vanitha, because I do believe that is really important. And third one, in my opinion, that is essential to really ensure that this is uptake across the entire organization, across all the different functions. Communicate the learning from tests on the failure and on the success. So the organization is aware of what you already understood, what you already test, and can avoid some pitfall and can fast track actually the success to find the right way and the right methodology that is working for that organization, linked to all the parameters that Nataliya before was sharing with us on the therapeutical area, on the way how the functional structure, on the operating model of the organization. So these are the key 3 elements for me where to properly craft content is needed to happen. And the change management is the biggest aspect. And very often it's really, really poor. because change management is not just communicating something through an email or through an internal website or do a workshop and it's ended. When we start a change management process across something, there is a cultural aspect that needs to be taken into consideration. There is a journey that needs to be organized and need to be ensured that it's feedback and refined over time along the journey. So very often change management is seen like a project that is start and end in a certain moment because that was what was the plan. But the reality is that didn't generate or didn't have the uptake that we wanted in the organization. And so this change of mindset, this change of way of working, this change of understanding what is required from your new role, it's very often not fully embraced. That is the key point of the change management from my perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you, Masi. Neel?
No, and I agree with Masi here, because you know, what are the framework you are working within, because the framework is constantly changing because we're on a journey. So the way we did customer journeys just 2 years ago is not the way they're done today, far, far from it. And I think truly understanding these bi-directional flows becomes even more imperative to create these successes. But who are in charge of mapping those? I don't really see that currently, right? I shouldn't say that, but I do. So really understanding the coexistence of different tasks becomes more apparent. And that mapping and structure is still something that our industry is learning, is because it's a journey. And Massimo said before, well, there is the insurance industry, the retail, and so forth. But as much as we can learn from them, we also every day have a completely different compliance environment. We have GDPR at a very different level because these are very sensitive information, not to forget about quality control. Yes. So this aspect, it's not easy to facilitate either. We're talking about agencies, yet what we're seeing that you said yourself, these decision-driven content pieces that come from medical, how do we get the MSL involved in a much earlier stage? Because we're seeing the requirements coming from the market. They want to learn what are the quality insurance for the quality care that they need to provide, and why we're all still here, because we need to make sure that that treatment is coming to market in whatever channel it has to be available in, to ensure that the patient is always in focus at the end of the day. So I think that's something I'm super interested in. It is these flows coming. How do we structure them? How do we match them to the tools that are available to us? We know the big players right now. How does that match again with enabling just these interactive sessions that we need to have, right? So yeah.
And Alessandro?
Well, what to say after the panel? I think we all agree that we have very similar challenges. I can only agree with you on the internal resources, issues, or on the managing multi-format, or especially the mindset, culture, change management. I think we definitely have all similar challenges. There's one element though that I think has not been mentioned yet, is about impactful. What channel is actually impactful in order to design the appropriate content. We don't need to be everywhere in every touch point, but we need to be impactful. I think this is very important. This will decrease several challenges. If you can show that what you're doing is impactful, then mindset, culture, change management would follow. They'll follow data, they'll follow impacts and outcome. So, but yes, I agree with you. We all have similar challenges, but I try here to really bring what is impactful, and not to be everywhere in every channels, but only especially at the beginning when you launch a product, you need to be meaningful, impactful.
So Alessandro, no TikTok for pharma, right?
Damn it, it was on the plan.
Okay, fantastic. In the meantime, we received a lot of questions from the audience, and I would like to pick one particular one, which is this kind of change is so organization-wide that it really requires C-level sponsorship. How do you secure that? Who would like to go first?
Dangerous question.
Yeah, a dangerous question, but I think it's an extremely relevant question. If I can go first, I would say I can share what I believe. In order to ensure that you have the C support, co-creation is essential. So you really need to come together with a large portion of your organization, collect their needs, their requirement, and really bring those information, those insights in front of the different leaders that will support the journey. Everyone is aware that there is a journey to be done, and there are a lot of different challenges to be tackled. But you need to start from somewhere. And before Neel was also saying how we ensure that everything is structured in the right way, that everything comes together. But I would say start small and ensuring that you do properly that piece, and later on attach the other piece and continue in this way until you can complete the picture. But don't start and trying to connect everything, because that is the way how everything can be failing. And having this sponsorship, in my opinion, is starting exactly at the same way. And sometimes depends on where you work. You might not even need the C sponsorship, but you need to have the leadership sponsorship. That is something different than the C level. And there it's still the co-creation. You bring the leader together. You really point out what are the challenges. You asking them how they would solve, how they would tackle. You collect all of these insights, you create the narrative that you need to create, and you share and understand if this narrative is something that resonates to the different leaders in the organization. And when this is happening and really resonate, your leadership is behind you, and they follow you, and they actually support you, and they ask you to be there with you. So I do believe that actually this is one of the nicest challenge that we have in front of us, because we can bring people together and really create this movement in the organization. But everything starts with collective intelligence, co-creation process, and bringing the organization together, breaking the silos, as I would say, Nataliya.
Yes, Marcel, thank you. I just want to support that start is needing to be a huge initiative from the very beginning. It has to be very small. It can be actually small. And I would also say, like, from our experience, C-level executives arrive as sponsors of such projects when you are executing this small piece. So then you are able actually to execute end to end, from the creation to the offering, processing, approval, whatever you are doing within this piece, and a couple of channels and one brand. So if you are executing on the small element, a small group of people, but this is a very meaningful element of the overall strategy, so you will drag attention. So it is not necessarily will arrive just in the beginning of the project. It could arrive with the successful execution of proof of concept, you know, so what I mean.
Anyone else?
Sorry, Dario.
Well,
Please, Neel, yeah?
Yeah, no, I completely agree that keep it simple, understand your minimal viable project or product is super important, because you're going to suffocate on the run just alone from the change management aspect, right? And then, I mean, it would also be very good to choose a partner that has done it before, because there has been a lot of learning from that partner in that given organization. So I think there is some value add. Fortunately, like Vanitha said, with the, or I forgot if it was Masi, that because we're measuring all the time, creating a business case for the minimal viable project should be quite apparent to bring to the top and show what's going on. Yeah.
Thank you. Vanitha, Alessandro, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I fully agree here with the panel, and I think it's all about leadership and also followership, as Masi rightly put in, right? Because you just don't want to put a flag and you turn back and you don't see people following you on that journey, right? So at least with Novo, it has always been a consensus-driven culture, and we have taken a very rather long route in bringing people along with us in this journey by running proof of concepts, showing them value, and like, you know, and walking the talk, and not just, you know, showing this fluffy stuff and like, you know, just like, you know, forgetting about them, constantly taking in feedback, accepting our mistakes, acknowledging them, and like, you know, trying to figure out better and better solutions. It's a journey. So that's how, at least in Novo, we have tackled the change journey, of course, with the full support of the leadership, but in a very consensus-driven way, also with people who are working day in and day out at the ground level.
Thank you, Vanitha. And Alessandro, I suppose.
Just one sentence. I think MVP, proof of concepts, onboarding the right people, absolutely. You know, try and fail, but never fail to try. This is something extremely important. And I will end with, you know, you have to build this journey with baby steps. Success doesn't come in one time with big projects, but small in trying, measuring, and so on. So yes, but this you need to have the right mindset in the company to propose such approach.
Thank you very much, Alessandro.
Create the right mindset. Sorry, Dario, but create the right mindset. You know, you can be a change agent and create the mindset that is needed within the organization to run this transformation also. I think that is also what leaders are expecting also from us, from all of us. No, we all are leaders that can drive piece of this transformation or can bring people together to drive this transformation. You don't need to perform everything, but you need to have the support and understanding also who is the right person to drive also piece of this transformation. As you said, Leo, I completely agree. Alessandro, sorry.
No worries. You need just to jump. You need somehow this open-minded mindset, because if you are really you know, traditional one is difficult to convince, and coming with proof of concept or, you know, try and fail approach. It's more about having already an existing mindset there that's open to try new things. All right, that's what I meant.
In meditation, they say you have to have the beginner's mind. So I would say maybe we're looking for that word, but okay. Okay, so we are left with 8 minutes, and I would like to raise our last question and start with you, Masi, which is I left that question for you because you're very keen on analytics, as I know. And this is, what are the key metrics and insights for proper customer experience and modular content strategy?
That's a great question.
Easy one.
Actually, I think we are learning a lot on the KPI perspective, and because we are used to this in our industry to transactional KPI or more activity KPI. And what we need to do in general in this area is start moving away from the traditional KPI and moving away from the traditional activity KPI to more impact KPI, more understanding on the KPI. And if we go down to the level below on the content and the modular content, but I would say insight lead generation is the key word in terms of insight. So what is important that from your KPIs or from your analytics, I like more to call about analysis than KPIs, because KPIs giving the impression that you have one KPI, key performance indicator. But the reality is that if you really want to understand what is happening around your modular content and all the elements, you need to run several analyses. Maybe you can later on summarize in some few KPIs, but at the beginning of the journey, you need a lot of different analysis, and from those analyses, you need to generate insights leads that you need to validate to be sure that are 100% appropriate. And there you learn what is working for certain type of customer, for certain type of channel, for certain type of mindsets that you are working together or they are outside. So I would say it's it would be simplistic to just jump a bunch of KPIs and say, oh, these are the KPIs. No, actually, there is much more to work on and understanding what are the right KPIs for your company, linked to your brand, linked to your type of customer, and the way how you execute and deliver the content linked to the customer experience. This would be my answer.
Nataliya, you would like to say something?
Yes, I would be very pragmatic here. Let us jump in the most measurable domains. Like if we implement modular, what will be the most measurable domains? So let me ask and answer the question: how we achieved MLR, the time we used to prepare the MLR submission. So have we achieved the reduction of this time? Like I'm not qualitative now, I just purely, you know, pragmatic and quantitative. And if we achieve this, have we, with the pre-approved modules, with the templatizing, reuse, and repurpose, have they achieved the rounds of revisions? Have a reduction? Have we achieved this? If yes, what is the percentage, right? And even making even more pragmatic, right? Have we achieved a reduce of the approval time in the end of the day, right? So because everything of this is highly traceable. If you have, like, if you visualize your content with modular very in the right way, so you make your search successful, let me say, everyone who is going to a digital asset management tool is successful. He can find what he searched, then he can take it, and despite the format, he can execute to the system, to the final tactics he's prepared. If it is execution successful, so then we have to measure, are we prepared to this? So to say if this was approved content, it was reused, and now it's already submitted to approval, are we achieving this reduction of time? Is there any other rounds of I don't know, improvements on the table or not? So all of this highly measurable, and I think it will be it will indicate us if we are on the right track or not. Because if we are not achieving anything of this, maybe we are not reusing, and maybe we are not modular yet, because this is highly traceable.
Thank you, Nataliya. Alessandro?
Well, I would like to start with the basic, actually. You know, is what Masi said. I think you said something about analysis. We are working as we speak on these KPIs. So we have the quantitative, which is a very traditional way, especially for face-to-face. But what about the quantitative? And I think Massimiliano, you wanted to say something about that with the analysis. I think with the quantitative. But there is one KPI I like to talk about, and I think is the most relevant one, is about ROI. And earlier I said impactful, meaningful and impactful. What channels, what message, and I think this is the only thing that counts. We can have beautiful dashboards and reports measuring our activities on fields, virtual activities. But there's one that counts is the ROI, because this is measure how impactful we have been in our strategy and execution.
Thank you, Alessandro. Very short, but very meaningful. Vanitha?
Yeah, I was missing the like button when Alessandro was talking about ROI. Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the key KPI, or whatever you want to call it, is if you're able to answer to this question: are you reaching your the right customers at the right time with the right messages, right, in the right channels? So we say this, and you would have read this line in many articles and heard in many videos. But if you are able to answer to these questions, I think then we are successful with what we are trying to do, whether it's you know, and modular content is just a vehicle which will help you answer these questions in a more granular way, and also help you ask this question in words: am I faster? That is the MLR agility. Am I able to use and reuse my content? Is my content performing well? All in a way that it's actually contributing finally to your ROI, right? So yes, so these are the fundamental KPIs, I would say.
Fantastic. And Neel.
Thank you. All of the above. No, I think today the KPI measurement, the clicks, the open rate, so forth, that's also a bit in Web 0.10, and we're now in 3.0 probably. So for me, it's more the critical success factor that leads to the ROI. Why, to come back to where we started, the how and what, and why we're doing it. So what are the critical success factors for the market, for the end user, for our users, and for the organization? And not be afraid to set them up. Because if you're not very clear on why, then it becomes a very long, winding road getting there if we're not clear. So to me, we're moving towards more of critical success factor measurements than actually open rates, to put it that way, to more qualitative than quantitative.
Thank you very much.
That.
Once we will master this 3.0 web, like Neel mentioned, then we will enter in the metaverse and everything will start from the very beginning.
We're all hybrid today, anyway.
That's a new metaverse.
It's an augmented lecture. Okay.
So once again, thank you very much, Vanitha, Neel, Alessandro, Nataliya, and Masi for joining this great webinar. We will publish that webinar on our official YouTube channel, so anyone can watch it later on. It was a pleasure to connect. Hopefully, we will meet in a live occasion. Hopefully, one day we will be there eventually. And take very good care and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.